This video is sponsored by Surfshark. Hey guys, welcome back. So now getting back into After Infinity, I want to talk about someone who I've wanted to see in the Sanctum Sanctorum since like day one, and that's Rintrah. And in this case, there's really no cosmic world changing crazy type of thing about it, because Rintrah is not like a super powerful character. But for me, for a while, I've always felt like seeing him in the Sanctum Sanctorum, it would just make it feel more like the Sanctum Sanctorum just by having him there. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so just to start off on a bit of backstory on Rintrah, he's an extra dimensional being originating from his home planet, Arval. And on his home planet, many of the creatures there are of a similar form, either resembling a minotaur or a similar like beast, and though for us he may appear like a mythological creature, but for Rintrah on his home world, his appearance is very average. But the thing about him that stood out that wasn't so average was his immense magical potential, and this is something that caught the notice of Tharman, the Weaver, who had eventually then taken Rintrah under his wing as his own apprentice. And with doing so, he then taught Rintrah the way of the Weavers, to whom for many ages the Weavers created a number of mystical artifacts, to where one of which would happen to be the Cloak of Levitation. And it's when we get to Doctor Strange Volume 2 Issue 78, to where after the Cloak of Levitation, it was damaged in the battle between Doctor Strange and Cat. It was either Cat or Cot. It was one of the two, not really sure of the pronunciation at the time. And initially Strange had made his attempts at using his sorcery to repair the Cloak of Levitation, but he had quickly discovered that much like the way that the cloak was created, that this called for the specific expertise of a weaver who would be needed to also repair the cloak. And he had learned this from trying to use spells just to patch it up, but that didn't work because the levitation, it had then become to get highly unstable. But essentially what this brought us to was Doctor Strange looking in the mystical yellow pages to find the recluse Tharman in his workshop, and he had immediately recognized that Strange was from the dimension of Eden, home of the great celestials, but also he had immediately recognized the Cloak of Levitation, as he had mentioned that it was crafted by another weaver much greater than himself. And it's from there where he told Strange that he would fix it and give him the price later, which very much sounded like Tharman gauged his prices for his clients based on the location from where they came. But lucky for you, you don't have to go through that with a little bit of help from this video sponsor, Surfshark VPN. Because with Surfshark, not only can you avoid price discrimination due to your location, which otherwise would have retailers charging you more based on where you live, but in addition to this, you can do your shopping and browsing while keeping your identity safe so that every villain in the world won't know that a hero's been searching for costume repair. And on top of this, you can just use one subscription and place it on an unlimited number of devices. And even if that device doesn't have specific access to an app store, thanks to a feature called Smart DNS, you can still connect that device and protect your private information on there as well, which in this instance is very useful for consoles. But on top of that, if you're looking to get a bit more out of your streaming service, which in a lot of cases limits the type of content you get due to your location, you can then use Surfshark to switch that up and open up a much larger library of options, which will give you much more content from the other services you're already paying for. So sign up today using my code DOPESPILL and get 85% off plus an additional 3 months for free. And you can either use my code or use the link in the description and get an amazing deal for your VPN service. But in the case of Strange, who didn't have the time to stand around and wait for the full repair of the Cloak of Levitation, he had then told Tharman he had to go, and Tharman then agreed, letting him know that he'll just have the cloak delivered. But when Strange got back, this quickly turned into an issue, because shortly after returning he was attacked by a demon who was sent by Orthana, whose armor was impervious to magic, which in most cases this would be something that Doctor Strange could work around. But with this dude's crazy strength, speed, and agility, it created a huge problem for Strange, especially since he couldn't move around like he could while using the Cloak of Levitation. And as a result, Strange was then critically injured. And when he was taken to the ER for his critical wounds, classic Doctor Strange only trusted himself with the operation. And after astral projecting himself into the surgeon, he was then able to get himself back into stable condition. But even still at this point, he wasn't ready to face Orthana. And as a result of this, he was then approached by a mysterious figure who we had later come to find out was Rintrah. And at this point, when Rintrah arrived, he really was just coming to give Doctor Strange back his cloak of levitation. But when he had got here and he'd seen that Strange was in trouble, he had then taken Strange and his body into a ship which he'd borrowed from the Fantastic Four in order to help Strange defeat Orthana. And just to talk about Orthana for a little bit, he's an alien sorcerer who at the time wanted to seize the opportunity of taking Doctor Strange's place as the Sorcerer Supreme. And he even went as far as stealing the whole Sanctum Sanctorum along with Wong and Topaz in it. But with Doctor Strange and Rintrah arriving here, Rintrah then allowed Strange to use his body to face Orthana, since at this time his body wasn't fully recovered. And throughout the course of this battle, Rintrah then left his body under the full control of Doctor Strange, so that Rintrah can then use Strange's body in order to free Wong and Topaz while Youthorna was distracted. But with everything happening here, this is what began the friendship between Doctor Strange and Rintrah. And even though in this moment Strange had just met Rintrah, he had quickly proven himself to be a trustworthy and powerful ally. And after all of this, when they had defeated Youthorna and then returned the Sanctum Sanctorum back to Earth, Rintrah had stayed for a while and then he had left for a little bit, but then he came back. But when he returned after that, he had then became the apprentice of the Sorcerer Supreme, to where then he would learn more spells and obtain higher skills within the mystic arts. And eventually later, when we would see the blue cloak of levitation, which had first appeared in Strange Tales issue 114, but as far as the abilities in comparison to the blue cloak and the red cloak, the blue was a bit subpar, and Strange had eventually ended up giving it to his apprentice, Rintrah. And so now, after talking about a bit of Rintrah's history and how he came to meet Doctor Strange in the comics, the films wouldn't necessarily have to take the exact same route, but with the way that everything is set up at this point heading into Phase 4, with both space travel and the acknowledgement of alternate realities, I strongly believe that there are countless ways to do this well. And even though I would like to believe that we can look forward to some kind of name drop or something close to that in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I highly doubt that we'll get anything that soon, but it would be nice. And on top of that, with everything that we've been seeing recently, from the most recent New Mutants trailer to the new Hailstorm show coming soon to Hulu, and on top of that we know Blade and Moon Knight are also in the pipeline, but with all of these supernatural and magical characters coming into play, I just feel like it would make a lot of sense to have a character like Rintrah who would either always be at the Sanctum Sanctorum while either Strange or Wong are out handling what they need to, leaving Rintrah to be that character to either cameo in smaller stories or free up Strange and Wong to appear in other films while still letting us know that someone is still guarding the Sanctum. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and I'm pretty sure nobody asked for a Rintrah video, but this is one that I wanted to do for a while, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna put it out there, because once again, I just feel like him walking around the Sanctum Sanctorum is just something that needs to happen, especially with him being a character with a not so human appearance, but even still he has very human mannerisms, which is something that I feel like is very much needed for the Doctor Strange portion of the MCU, and that supernatural pocket of the MCU, much like what we've gotten an abundance of through the space portion with Guardians of the Galaxy. But once again, that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and like always, we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.